We are ready, Alexander. You can start.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, depending on where you are joining us today. My name is Alexander Goetz. I'm General Manager of Fischer Asia, which is a contract manufacturer for metal stamping parts and welding assemblies. Besides that, I'm Chairman of the German Business Association here in Vietnam. And I'm today your chair for this very interesting workshop number 3, European Sustainable Manufacturing, Best Practice, Motivation, and Reality. Give me 1 second. For European companies, the topic of sustainability and sustainable manufacturing has been circulating for many years. In its early stages, many sustainability campaigns were capital intensive and mostly focused on reputational improvements of a company. Today, we see that enhanced process flows and technologies are not only minimizing the negative environmental impacts and conserve natural resources, but they also bring major economical advantages if applied correctly. In this workshop, we will have the chance to get valuable insights how different companies and sectors participate in and apply sustainable manufacturing. Before we start now with the presentations, I would like to define some house rules to ensure a smooth and productive workshop session. Firstly, please put all your microphones on mute to avoid that we have any negative voice impact. Besides that, we have 3 very interesting presentations which focus on very different aspects and topics on sustainable manufacturing. Therefore, we will make a short Q&A session after each individual presentation. We are happy to receive your questions. Please put them in the chat section. So after that, each presentation, I will take on your questions and raise them to the presenters so that we can have a short discussion after each of those topics. With no further ado, I would like to start right away with our first presentation today, which will be Mr. Mo Vamos from B. Braun Vietnam. He's the COO. B. Braun Vietnam is one of the biggest German investors here in Vietnam. And he will focus on the topic of energy management in manufacturing industries. Mo, thank you very much for joining, and please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Alex, for the great introduction. So my name is Mo Vamos, and I'm the CEO of B. Braun Vietnam. As you might know, we have 2 manufacturing sites in Hanoi. One is the medical device manufacturing facility, and another one is where we are manufacturing the so-called pharmaceutical solutions, mainly for infusion therapy. And today I would like to introduce you the way and the system, how we and what we applied for energy management implementation at B. Braun Vietnam, the best practices, examples, and the history we did it so far. And I hope you can get some good examples and best practice sharing out of my presentation. So I would like to ask Nancy to share my presentation. If you could do that, Nancy.
One moment, yes, it's coming.
Okay, very good. So this is it. This is how our facility looks like in Hanoi. We are located South Hanoi. And this is a quite new facility. It was built in 2012 and finished in 2015. So nevertheless, we had a great opportunity everywhere to change, adjust, and to optimize things related to energy management and waste management as well. So first, I would like to tell some points to you about why do we need energy management? As obviously everybody knows that currently, due to global warming, the waste management and efficient usage of energy become more and more important for everybody, for us, and not only for the private persons at home, but also for companies like B. Braun. So we are actively focusing on reducing our gas emissions, or focusing on energy saving actions worldwide within B. Braun, and also here in Vietnam, in Hanoi, to use the energy and the green energy efficiently here in Vietnam. Second point is that the management is devoted for green company. So the color of B. Braun, the corporate color, is the so-called Pantone green. And we not only green in the text, but we also live the green spirit in terms of energy efficiency. Besides the top management decision, we have to comply, obviously, with the Vietnamese law and regulations. And you know that the Vietnamese Ministry of Energy is having year by year energy saving targets on saving and efficiency for us since 2010. So every year we comply with this new set of KPIs. And also B. Braun corporately, we are responsible not only for our employees, but also on the society and also our surrounding environments. This is also one of our main motivators in energy efficiency. Sustainability, and the agenda point of mine is also related to sustainability. So a company only can be sustainable if we use our resources in a most efficient way, in a way that not only the company, but also that the resources can exist for a very, very long time. The last point is the energy management supports operations strategic plan, focusing on eliminating energy and utility waste. This is to be competitive on the market, because every year, as every other company, B. Braun is also under cost pressure, and we are able to keep the manufacturing costs so-called flat, so without increase. And the flat manufacturing cost realization is only feasible and achievable if we focus not only on productivity improvements, but also focusing on better usage of our available energy sources. Next slide, please. This is the history at B. Braun Vietnam, what we have done so far. We started the energy management implementation in 2013. We started to measure and monitor all our energy consumptions within the facility, including electricity, water, and diesel oil. We need diesel oil for the generators in case of electricity cut. We have to run our so-called gensets. This is why you see here diesel oil. So this is only in case of emergency. We have one experienced engineer dedicated 100% on energy management, and he's the one who is leading the program at B. Braun Vietnam, including all the training, certification, and internal activities. In 2015, we was audited for energy audit compliance by the Vietnam Energy Management, and we have established our Energy Management Committee in 2015. One year after, in 2016, we started to build up, let's say, the cornerstones for ISO 50001. The ISO 50001 is the standard for energy management and sufficient energy usage. This is a great framework for all the companies who would like to focus on on a professional way of using energy. We have centralized electric power monitoring system installed. This is the so-called in the BMS system. That means that we have one centralized area where we can measure, track, and analyze all the, let's say, electricity usage per machine. So this is not only covering the whole facility, but also we are able to break it down into single units, into single users. In 2016, we started to train and to involve all our employees within B. Braun Vietnam. And this is also part of the ISO 50001 framework that we not only implement, utilize, but also bottom-up approach-wise, we involve all our employees directly from the shop floor. In 2018, we had the first ISO certification. We received it successfully, and in 2020, we did the upgrade to the 2018 version. Next slide, please. This slide shows the 4, respectively 5 key factors we are talking about and we are focusing on when we are thinking of energy efficient utilization and operation. The first is the critical operating parameter definition. This is where we have to find our critical machines and consumers which are influencing our overall energy usage at the facility. The second is the operational training. This is very, very crucial to involve all the employees within the company to contribute from every single one into the common goal and to reach our KPIs, our targets in a systematic way. Then the third is prioritize the so-called SCUs. SCU is significant energy uses. If you're interested, I can explain this a little bit later. The fourth is to use and review the operator logs. This is part of the energy management surveillance. And last but not least, awareness of role and impact of energy performance means that we have to set up a so-called energy baseline, and we have to define energy performance indicators within the facility. These are our KPIs, and we strive to meet the KPIs every year and make them challenging year by year. Next slide, please. In this slide, I would like to highlight the importance on the Kaizen ideas. And when I was talking about training and deployment of the ISO 50001 framework involving all the operators, employees within B. Braun Vietnam, this is the foundation of the Kaizen, of the continuous improvement spirit we are living since 2013. As you can see here, from 2013 until 2020, totally we have implemented 158 Kaizen improvements in terms of energy management saving. And when we are talking about electricity saving, then I can say that from 2013, we were able to save 6.8 million kilowatt on a yearly basis. Just a very easy example, and for everybody easy to understand, we have installed the so-called smart control lighting switches, which works with a motion detector, with the time control included, means that in changing rooms and utility rooms where those rooms are not fully occupied during the day, we only turn on and off the electricity when it is needed. And this is based on the usage of the room. So this is a very good and very easily achievable solution for everybody. Second, please, or next, please. Here you can see, and if I don't know if somebody is in the audience is a little bit in the industrial field, everybody knows that generating compressed air requires a hell lot of energy. And as you can see here on the diagram, 85% of the input energy is immediately converting into heat loss. And let's say from the 100% input energy, we are only able to convert 5 to maximum 10% into the real compressed air. The rest is waste. And what we have done, we utilize the so-called heat loss. Here with 85%, we converted the heat generated by compressing the air into heating up our water system for showering and for hand wash. At B. Braun, we are a medical device manufacturing company operating in a clean room environment, and hygiene is extremely important for our operation. That's why we have multiple steps into entering into the clean room operations, and for that we have to wash and sanitize our hand in different steps. So the heat loss we could use into heat up the water system we have, and by that we could turn off the so-called conventional electrical heaters. So that also saved us a quite significant amount of electricity. The third example is that we applied everywhere the so-called VFD control for different electric motor speed control. That means that the motors, the fans, air compressors, ventilators, water pumps are not just on and off operations, but due to the VFD, depending on the demand, on the need, the frequency and the speed of the motors can be variable and adjusted. This also contributes tremendously into our energy saving activities. Next slide, please. The next example is also pretty easy to understand. Is we had everywhere in our facility the normal conventional lighting system, the fluorescent lamp, or with the high beam lamps. This in the warehouse you see on the picture on the photo on the right side, and this we have changed to LEDs. So, and you see also the usage, the electricity usage. 38 fluorescent lamp consumes 38 watts, and the new T8 LED consumes only the half, so it's 18 watt. And similarly in the warehouse, our normal lamp consumption, normal consumption was 200 watt, and after the change to LEDs, we went down to 100 watt. So this is a great achievement. And also, if you see at the bottom part of the slide, you see that the cladding, the outside cladding of the facility. Previously, we had nice outer lights everywhere around the company, and we did a risk assessment, risk analysis based on the EHS, the safety aspects taken into account, and we decided to turn off some of those external lights, providing enough safety and visibility, but preventing the unnecessary usage of electricity. Next slide, please. The next step of the energy management implementation is, as I said also at the beginning, and I cannot emphasize it enough, that the training, we really have to provide all the necessary training and involvement for our team, for our employees. We not only have the so-called third-party audit for the ISO 50001, but also we do our internal audits, challenging our own systems, own SOPs in order to make them more robust and more feasible for better energy utilization. Besides the Kaizen and continuous improvement, which is a little bit post-active activity, we also do preventive activities. And here you can see two preventive activities. We applied on the left side, we use the so-called ultrasonic detection for detecting the compressed air leakage. This is a device. With this device, we can, let's say, listen whether there is any leakage in our compressed air system. As I mentioned earlier, the majority of the energy is converted into waste during the compressed air, let's say, production. That's why it is very costly. It costs a lot of money. This is why it's very important that we have everywhere tight pipelines and tight system without any air leakage. The second example I would like to highlight is the so-called infrared scan detector. This is a camera, and with this camera we can identify the abnormalities within the electrical system in case of insufficient connections between consumer and the socket. Let's say the temperature will rise, and with the camera we can easily identify and eliminate the problem. Next one, please. Two simple examples for the waste management, so that we are not only talking about energy management, but also a little bit, let's see the waste. So every plastic manufacturing company, not only generating finished good, let's say, but also we are generating quite a high amount of waste. Here I would like to show you how we are utilizing our process waste. This is during the injection molding process. We have some molds where we are operating with the so-called cold runner system. And the cold runner system has channels, and these channels are filled with material. And those materials, after the cooling process, are no longer usable, respectively useful for the finished good production. But nevertheless, we recycle this so-called cold runner, put it back into the machines, and produce the fresh components out of it. Next one, please. This is the external way of using our waste or managing our waste in a better way instead of burning it and dump it on a yard. We are purposely looking for suppliers who are able to take up our process waste and convert into usable products, finished goods. And here you can see on the left side, this is what we are not able to use further into our manufacturing process. This we sell to suppliers who are able to manufacture out of that. You see the one-way spoons, containers, and also food trays. This is one very obvious example. Next slide, please. So let's see the awards, what B. Braun Vietnam received so far since we have implemented the 50,001. In 2017, we won the second prize of Vietnam National Energy Efficiency Industrial Award. And in 2020, last year, we were selected to the 5-star energy award in the program of the green energy usage industry within Vietnam. So these are, I would like to highlight these two awards we have achieved so far. And I believe that was my last slide in this presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yes, more. Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation. Also interesting to see that there are many different type of technologies, methodologies that you use on different levels. Very interesting. Also for me, as I have a manufacturing company, some good insights we might use in the future.
We can do some sharing expertise, Alex, if you would
please.
like.
Definitely. No. Very interesting. Let's do that. We also received one question from OptiSmart Consulting, and the question is, what kind of IoT platform do you use for energy management?
I would like to be happy to understand what is meant IoT. So this is an abbreviation. It sounds familiar to me. So if the Mark could explain what is IoT, I am very happy to answer it.
Internet of Things. So basically for Industry 4.0, what platform software, if there is one that you use, I assume that he means a bigger software package.
Softwares, okay, yeah. We have the so-called BMS system. This is Building Management System. This is an overall solution, software solution for overseeing the electricity consumption, in general, all the consumptions all the management of the facility-related equipments, for example, the HUs, the air handling units, the air conditioners, the VRVs, the lighting system. So everything is connected into one system. And with this one system, we can control, monitor, and analyze all our energy usage, let's say, and operating the facility-related equipments. Like I said, the air handling units extremely important in the clean room environment, and also the air conditioning, everything. So if I would like to change the temperature, for example, in the office or in the clean room, theoretically, we don't do that. But if I would like to, I can do it remotely. So this is possible. So no need to go to the switch, push the button, but this is due to everything is linked and connected to one system. This is able to done remotely as well.
All right, thank you for that. I hope that answers the question of Jean-Marc. I personally would also have another question. So it was interesting to see, as said, many different topics where you start, or different processes where you find improvements. So yes, we all know it's possible to improve everything and make everything environment friendly. Nevertheless, this also comes at a certain cost level. So from a, let's say, economical point of view, do you have an internal KPI where you say, for an improvement, there is a maximum return on investment that we accept? Or how do you evaluate if an idea regarding sustainability is worth implementing it from a more financial point of view?
Yeah, we have strict rules in terms of ROI. But before going into ROIs, I mentioned somewhere during the presentation that every B-Brown manufacturing site has a commitment to keep the manufacturing costs flat. And this is a very simple rule. So we can increase our costs, we can invest money into our operation, we can increase the annual depreciation cost, this and that. But at the end, the manufacturing costs have to be stable and same than the previous year. That means that the only way we are able to achieve the flat manufacturing costs, let's say, is that to apply system like ISO 50001, energy management, Kaizen activities, saving, optimization, productivity improvement. So these are the activities we are able to compensate the investment, the amount of investment or the additional effort also into headcounts, compensate the salaries, the utility costs. Coming back to the ROI, two major rules. We have one rule: if the ROI is lower than 1 year, we can do the implementation immediately without thinking too much. And if the ROI is, let's say, until 3 years, this is accepted at B-Brown, that 3 years is the, let's say, the borderline in terms of releasing investments or holding them or canceling them. So the maximum we can go beyond is 3 years in terms of ROI, in terms of investments.
Yeah, thank you for that. So at the moment, I don't see any additional questions in the chat, but I would have actually one more.
Okay.
Because I know that B-Brown, they're very active in following this subject actively. Do you also have some future projects that you intend to implement in the upcoming, I don't know, 1 or 2, 3 years? Any big plans there?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about also about the green energy, respectively the reusable energy sources. And thank you very much for your question, because it's also very important to not only improving what we have, but also looking in the future and implement new technologies. One obvious technology, respectively solution we would like to have, is the rooftop solar panels at B-Brown Vietnam. So this would also generate further improvements, not only in terms of savings, but also in terms of social responsibility and social well-being and giving back a little bit to the nature by using solar panels. So this is our future plan. With this, we have a challenge due to our building. If you come and visit us, Alexander, you would see that we have a so-called membrane roof. And this curved membrane roof is not the best design for installing heavy platforms holding solar panels, but we are in active communication, thanks also to GBA and AHK, with some service providers who are able to provide workable solutions for solar panels. But when we are talking about solar panels, the first thing people think, okay, we buy some panels, invest money in panels, put it on the roof, and we will utilize them. But also there is also another solution that we are also able to buy green electricity from other places, generating solar energy. So not only let's say the instant installment is possible, but also there is another solution to utilize green energy generated by other companies or other entities, still worth to use it and to try, compared to doing nothing. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks for that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for the presentation. Good to hear B. Brown is keep going with this very nice approach and keeps thinking about new opportunities, new solutions.
If you are interested, we can continue this sharing expertise.
Definitely, most definitely. Okay, more. Thank you very much. So I would like to move on. Yeah, we already see the video screen to our next presentation, which will be Mr. Patrick Kemnitz, who is General Director of Trumpf Vietnam, a high-tech company focusing on manufacturing solutions, machine tools, laser technology, electronics, and Industry 4.0. Patrick, thank you very much for taking the time today. We're looking forward to an interesting presentation. You're just still on mute.
Okay, now you can hear me, right?
Yes.
We can hear you, but yes, now it's full screen. Perfect.
And you can also see my full screen. So now it's all working. And also good morning to all participants from the European time zone. And yeah, good afternoon to all participants from Vietnam, especially maybe in Binh Duong. So my name is Patrick Kemnitz, and yeah, I'm the General Director of Trumpf in Vietnam. And Trumpf is a manufacturing company from Germany. A little bit more in detail I will tell you later. And I want to talk about this topic of sustainable manufacturing or green manufacturing, and what kind of approaches and concepts can help us to find the right way. And this is why the title of my presentation is about leapfrogging and why advanced technologies support the sustainable manufacturing in Vietnam. And I will give you some examples from our industry. So first of all, about my short presentation, there will be 3 questions. I will go along these questions. The first is why the manufacturing sector in Vietnam should be in focus for a sustainability or sustainable development in Vietnam. Especially the manufacturing sector is very important. The second is what basically is leapfrogging and how this concept can motivate us for a sustainable manufacturing. And the third question is why advanced technologies are the key to a sustainable manufacturing in Vietnam. So let me go through these 3 questions and give you some ideas from our side, from a German company. First of all, I think you all follow the news every day in the manufacturing sector. You see what is ongoing in Vietnam. If you are in the business or if you are manufacturing in Vietnam, you see that Vietnam is already a hotspot for the industrial manufacturing. There are discussions about who can take the leading role in Southeast Asia for manufacturing, or even in Asia. And I think in this conference, we can all agree on that Vietnam is, of course, in the leading role and can take a leading place in manufacturing for other countries as well as for the domestic market. We need to separate a little bit this topic between two directions. One direction is the domestic market, and the second direction is the export business. But in both, Vietnam is already very strong and will be even stronger in future. So now I want to give you some ideas what kind of trends we can see at the moment in the manufacturing industry. And if you see the first trend on the left side, you can see some figures for the FDI, the foreign direct investment to Vietnam from 2002 for already to 2019. You can see a strong increase, heavy increase in the last years. So we can also see this maintaining in the next year. So basically more companies are investing in Vietnam. And for our discussion here, very crucial is, if we see on the right side the trend from 2020, these figures, we can see absolutely on the top is, of course, the manufacturing sector, the processing sector, not only most of the projects, but also the highest amount of invested capital is going into the manufacturing sector from foreign companies. Of course, we know all the big players from Korea, from Japan, from also all the European companies, at least, of course, also not the German companies investing in manufacturing as well in Vietnam. Of course, we all see the advantages for a global footprint. The second trend for the industrial manufacturing in Vietnam, besides this foreign direct investment, is, of course, the local industry, means the localization. The second trend is the localization. All companies have the incentive to increase the localization ratio, manufacture more parts, also with a high local footprint. So that means also the local companies, Vietnamese companies, increase their manufacturing capacities, new factories are established everywhere. I think we know all the development of the industry zones and industry parks with very, very strong capability in the manufacturing sector. And the manufacturing sector, of course, is quite wide. We have different materials to process. We have the different industries. And Vietnam is strong in a wide range of industries. So these two trends will drive us forward also in future. First of all, the investment from foreign companies, and the second is the local companies being also suppliers for foreign companies in Vietnam or exporting. So this is why we should focus on also sustainable and green manufacturing, because we all want to protect the environment and have a sustainable development in the industry. So now I want to come to this question, what is leapfrogging? Maybe it's known to you or unknown, so I will give you a short idea how it can help us, this concept of leapfrogging, how it can help us to explain or to talk about sustainable development in the manufacturing sector. So basically, here a short explanation what leapfrogging means. And this is related to technologies already. So basically it means to use new state-of-the-art or advanced technologies and skipping less efficient or more expensive or more polluting technologies. Yeah? So you skip one step and you leapfrog what you can see. You leapfrog maybe a development from the past and you achieve already a step forward and have a better position. Now, this can be a better position in a competition between companies. This can be also a better position to have less pollution, or to have also a better position for a sustainable development. This is basically the concept, that it is not only an incremental innovation, but it is a radical innovation in terms of using technologies which could fulfill higher requirements. And this is quite crucial for the sustainable development. To make it a little bit more practical, I have here 1 or 2 examples for leapfrogging in Vietnam. So first, you can see on the left side, you can see a fixed line telephone. This is a fixed line cable, and this is basically a very traditional example for leapfrogging if you follow the scientific discussion about this concept. So what happened in Vietnam in the past, and if you look around your friends and families, of course, only a really rare people, less people have this kind of telephone, but we know this in Europe quite well. I think many years ago, we all had such telephones in our households. But in Vietnam, more popular was already the mobile and cellular telephones and the mobile phones. And of course, this was already the first step of leapfrogging. So in Vietnam, there were technology used which is totally different or ahead to other countries or societies. So this has also impact on the infrastructure in the country. But now we can see the next step of leapfrogging, and this is about mobile payment. Now, of course, if everybody has a mobile phone and knows this to use already since many years, in all kind of generations, younger people, older people know how to use. It is also easy to adapt new principles and other businesses. So this is about mobile payment, and you see there are many examples in Vietnam where first steps are made with mobile payment. And this mobile payment is, of course, if we look into the European Union, mobile payments also started a few years ago, but in Vietnam it's quite, we started much earlier here to use it. Yeah? So we leapfrog other ways of payment like card payment or bank payment, because why? Not everyone has a bank account, but everyone has a mobile phone. So we leapfrog some technologies, and by this we achieve advantages. So this is basically the concept. So why we want to talk about this more now for manufacturing is from our perspective that we are a German company. Trumpf is a manufacturer of equipment. Beside of B. Braun, what we heard before, B. Braun is manufacturing in Vietnam. We are a manufacturer of equipment for manufacturing industries in Vietnam. So basically we are a supplier for several industries in Vietnam. And we are from Germany, and basically we are a very sustainable company, and sustainability has many different kind of elements. One element is a long-term orientation. And what is important for us for a long-term orientation is that we are a family business since nearly 100 years. We are founded in 1923, and we are owned by one family. So we have a very long-term oriented strategy. The second is we are focusing on innovations, and about these innovations, I will share a little bit more how they can help for sustainable development, especially in manufacturing. So we are focusing on engineering and on improving our technology, and our technology is around the laser, the laser technology used also in machine tools. So, of course, if we talk about our global manufacturing footprint, we manufacture worldwide. We have our most factories in Europe, in Germany, in Austria, Switzerland, France, Italy, but also in China or in United States. And everywhere we keep the same standards of sustainability. And sustainability means for us also safety, quality standards. This all is, let's say, under a sustainable manufacturing approach. So as a global and German brand, we need to keep this standard. And if we come to Vietnam, we are basically in nearly all industries where you use some metal parts or sheet metal parts, or even in electronics, if it comes to welding or cutting applications. The laser technology is used in all these industries, which are quite strongly growing in Vietnam. If we look into engineering, sheet metal processing, if you look around, you can find it everywhere. Motorbicycle parts, motorbicycle supply, you can find it everywhere. Electronics, we have, of course, strong investment in the north of Vietnam. And also in Binh Duong, the furniture industry, very strong. But now there is a shift from only wooden furniture to wooden combined with metal furniture. And these metal parts are manufactured on machines we are supplying from Trumpf. So these are some kind of machines manufactured and supplied to Vietnam. These are laser cutting machines and all other kind of sheet metal fabrication machines. And what is now the approach of these technologies? Of course, we bring a lot of features with these kind of machines, and these features supporting the industry here in Vietnam for a green or sustainable approach. I will go into some details from our manufacturing approach. Here you can see how we manufacture these machines. This is one of our factories. Of course, we have several factories as shown before, and all following the same standard. This is the picture from a factory in China, but it could be the same in Germany or in Austria, Switzerland. Of course, you see we follow the lean approach, and lean approach is already one of the most important for saving resources and being in a sustainable manufacturing approach. Here's a second way for the punching machines, also following our global standards of manufacturing. If we look now into a factory in Vietnam, and this is an example why it is so important to look into not only around the factories, but also looking into the factory. I take now the perspective for focusing on the equipment in the factory. And here you can see one example of a factory here in Vietnam. Of course, we already seen safety first, focus on safety. We see a lean approach, and we see state-of-the-art technologies. And these technologies can avoid a lot of waste, a lot of resource inefficiency, and create basically also USPs for the companies. Because sustainability means also to have a long future of the company. If a company wants to contribute to a sustainable development, it means also you need to survive in the competition. So you need to find the right arguments and the right answer to be sustainable in all directions. So let me go into the details. So you can make the jump in manufacturing, leapfrogging older and disadvantageous technologies, and reach a level for sustainable and green manufacturing. So one argument is the long product lifetime. I think most of the well-known European or also German companies have very high standard. So we have a lifetime which is quite long. So you don't need to scrap equipment and buy new equipment. This we know also from our daily life, where we're focusing on a sustainable utilization of products. So a long product lifetime. Of course, it is also in line with the long-term orientation of the company. So a long-term strategy. Second is reduce waste. means for us in our examples, less scrap material, less scrap metal material. So you use, of course, some raw material and you can manufacture something, and then you have scrap, but of course you need to reduce the scrap to have less resources wasted. And of course, all the material also need to be produced and manufactured first. So if you can reduce it, you can save a lot of resources in the manufacturing value chain. The third point is resource efficiency in general. Do more with less. Lower electricity consumption, B. Brown has shown it for a whole factory, but also for each machine, for all your equipment, you can reduce the electricity consumption by using efficient machines and efficient equipment. And of course, we are, from our side, we are focusing with our technology on that since a long time. And also, B. Brown talked about already the compressed air, that this is very expensive, but it is also even more, let's say, electricity consuming and to produce some nitrogen. And if it comes to metal works, if you can use compressed air instead of nitrogen, it is quite advantageous. So such kind of features are important to use. One more example is reduction of pollution, not only in traffic where we see it every day on the streets, but also in our factories here in Vietnam in the manufacturing sector. So filters or dust extractors are very important. It not only keeps the factory clean, but also environment. And it has, of course, a direct impact on all the workers in the factory, but also indirect impact on the society. So there it should be state of the art to use the latest technology for reducing pollution from manufacturing steps in different industries. Yeah, I'm focusing on the metalworking industry, but it is, I think, for all the industries, and plastics and other materials the same. You can use technologies to avoid pollution. And of course, what is for us also important for a sustainable approach is the workers' health. And we need to focus about safe technologies, safe for the humans around the technologies. So we need to focus on technologies protecting the workers and having safety standards like the CE certificate, the CE marking we know from Europe. So there we are focusing also on in Vietnam. And this is of course a step to leapfrog other technologies. To give you some more ideas, I make it more practical. So I talked about reducing waste, and here you can see on the right side, you can see a sheet metal, and this was cut by a laser cutting machine, which I have shown you before. So you see, of course, this is now the remaining skeleton, and you see a lot of space where you can cut also material. What you can do is not only having the right hardware, you also need to having the right software. You can see on the left side, the software, for example, from Trumpf. It has a very intelligent algorithm to do the nesting. The nesting means to place the parts on the sheet. And of course, with the right nesting, you can utilize the raw material with a higher efficiency and reduce also the skeleton. This is basically reducing waste. Another example is about the pollution. To make it more practical, you can see here on the top of the left, you can see a laser cutting machine. This is a 2D CNC laser cutting machine. And this is also very familiar here in Vietnam. Many of these machines are installed in Vietnam. But important is here on the right side, you see the dust collector. Inside the machine, of course, if you cut metal by high power laser, some dust will occur. So you need to collect this metal dust before it can come to the environment. So you need to use some lasers. And additional thing you can see already here on this machine concept on the lower side of the page, you can see here, first of all, this machine is totally covered. So it is not that the dust can get out on the top, on the roof. And then you can also see here green window, and this green window will become very important on my next slide. So this green window is also a sustainable topic, because we need to focus on our future generations. And if it comes to modern technologies, we also need to know the details about the technology. And the laser technology is, of course, a very sophisticated technology. And you see here also a machine, but without the cover. So no dust extraction possible. And the second thing is also not possible to protect the eyes of workers. We explain it here a little bit in detail why the wavelengths of a laser beam is very dangerous. So this is why machines should be state of the art, following also the CE certificate. So you can see a slide back here, totally housed. You have this laser safety glasses. They are usually green colored, and this is the opposite. So this is a more argument to leapfrog such kind of technology to fulfill already standards, which also are very important for supplying global industries and global companies, which require a global standard. Yeah, so if you want to get more information about this, about how technologies in Vietnam can support in manufacturing sector, you can find more information also in Vietnamese language on LinkedIn from our website. And yeah, basically by this, I come to an end of my presentation. Thank you for attention. And now I'm also available for some questions.
Yeah, Patrick, thank you very much. Very interesting. For me, Trumpf is already well-known brand, and we know how innovative and what smart solutions you can provide. But anyways, it was very interesting to hear more about that. We received two questions. One is related to the CE marking. Maybe just briefly explain the term of CE.
Yeah, CE is basically, we know it quite well in Europe, I think, is a marking all products will need to provide it to end customer. Yeah, even all our electronical equipments in the household in Europe will need a CE marking. So a CE marking is like labeling a certain standard of safety fulfillment and or fulfill some safety requirements. And of course, yeah, this is a basic standard for German or for European manufacturers to manufacture products fulfilling these requirements. And in these requirements also criteria which will lead us already into a direction of the sustainable manufacturing. At least if we take a look on the workers' healthy or healthiness and the health of workers and worker safety, then we should really consider products with CE marking or comparable from US. Now, CE marking is basically from the European Union, European zone.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation, Patrick. We have another question from V. Chan. How Trumpf can realize to supply advanced machines as explained in the presentation? I'm not really sure where it's going. Or can you answer that? I would be a little confused.
Yeah, maybe. So yes, how we can supply some technologies like this to the Vietnamese market? Yeah, of course. it is related to our company beliefs and to our values. Yeah? So we manufacture such kind of standard because we have a long history. As I said, nearly 100 years. We are a family business, yeah. So we're focusing on the long-term strategy. And as a German company, usually we are, let's say, we love engineering and we like to improve for the society and for future generations. This is, you can see, if we look into our R&D expenses from Trumpf, we invest every year around 10% of our revenue in research and development activities. Why we do this? Because we absolutely are convinced that this is the right step to be ahead, to having state-of-the-art technology. And of course, this has so many directions to being ahead. Of course, you need to have machines being productive, but productivity means also to having machines for sustainable manufacturing, because it comes again to do more with less. If you have a more productive machine, you need only one machine and not two. And of course, it's more sustainable to have just one machine with all these material used and the manufacturing steps. So our company, and we are a global company with 14,000 employees, is investing a lot in R&D every year to having this state-of-the-art technology. This is maybe an answer to this question, why we can supply technologies enabling a leapfrogging step. This is a bit the explanation. Of course, we can have technologies which can fulfill highest accuracy, highest requirements. So you can make with these technologies a step ahead to incremental developments of your investment.
All right, great. Thank you for that. We just got another one from the VGU, from Thomas. He's asking, can you explain what actions are done in Vietnam to build academic industry collaboration to ensure production engineers can realize the potential of leapfrogging using Trumpf technology? Of course, we know they're high-level, high-technology machines, but definitely there also needs to be a good training and education for that. So very interesting question.
Yeah, thanks for this question. For all participants also from Binh Duong, I think is Thomas, we know us very well from our business. The Vietnamese German university located in Binh Duong is basically a very good example for using future technologies or advanced technologies. From our side, we see this as well as a sustainable development. We want and we need to collaborate with universities, and we do this with the VGU already since a while. And of course, it is important not only to bring the equipment, but to bring the knowledge, and the students or later the workers, operators or factory managers or managers have to know about the capability of a technology, what it can bring to the business or to a sustainable manufacturing approach. So of course, in this way, we need to collaborate with universities, build up training programs together between a manufacturer and the university. I think this is a very good approach to work together with partners. And to all of you who are interested to see machines from Trumpf or to see state-of-the-art technology, I can really recommend to visit also the VGU, the Vietnamese German University. They have very well equipment in their lab, and maybe there are also already approaches to collaborate with interested companies in Binh Duong.
All right, Patrick, thank you very much for the answers on those interesting questions, and also for the presentation, of course. We're still good in time, and we would come to our third presentation of the day, which will be done by Ms. Ian Wu, who is the country manager of Rouse in Vietnam, focusing now on a legal topic. So she's an expert in IPR, intellectual property rights, especially for Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, and will now focus on the importance of IPR for green technology. Another angle we're covering today, very interesting to do that as well. Ms. Wu, thank you very much, and please start.
Thanks very much, Alex. And thanks very much to my fellow speakers, Patrick and Mo, for the excellent and very informative presentations about green tech and how your companies have embraced these green techs in your activities. And so my name is Yen. I'm an expert of the Southeast Asia IP SME Helpdesk, and I'm the country manager of Rouse Legal, which is an international law firm focusing on intellectual property rights. We've been in Vietnam for more than 20 years. So for today's topic, in the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to speak about the concept of green tech. I'm sure you already explored this concept, by reading news or also by learning from different sources. But what is this green tech concept? And then present, and explore what are the challenges to embrace green tech, and also what are the opportunities that green tech bring to us. And finally, we look at how intellectual property rights incentivize green tech. So first of all, green tech is actually, as you all know, technology whose use is intended to mitigate or reverse the effects of human activity on the environment. So we're talking about renewable energies like wind energy, solar energy, or cars that employ technologies, like electric cars instead of cars that use gasolines in the old times. Green tech, we also talk about smart ways, smart technologies for energy storage, distribution and management, as well as recycling and waste technologies, as you already see in presentations by my fellow speakers from Bron, Vietnam. We also talk about technologies that used for capture, storage, sequestration, and disposal of greenhouse gases, which is very important to protect our Earth right now. Green tech also involves technologies that consume less energy resources, for example, LED bulbs. Also, remember the examples by Bron, Vietnam that you've seen before. And another good example that we've seen a lot in Vietnam, as well as in the region and global, is vertical farming. So vertical farming is the actually practice of growing crops in vertically stacked layers, and crops are grown indoors where temperature, nutrients, lighting, air circulation, etc. are controlled by using smart technologies to optimize plant growth, and to employ technologies in here that involves, smart technologies to protect it as patterns. You can also use software to control the lighting, to control the temperature and air circulation in the labs for growing the crops. So what are the challenges to green tech as we see? First of all, this is all about disruption of traditional technologies. So from cars using gasolines, we now have cars that are using electricity. From fossil energies, we now turn to renewable energies. However, since the energy market still dominated by traditional source of energy, the advent of green tech may disrupt the business models, cultures, and consumer preferences. And this requires remarkable systematic shifts in actor networks, value chains, knowledge, and institutions. And therefore, we think that the diffusion of an alternative technology may take much time and effort. So what are the key challenges? First of all, it's very hard to prove market. A good example on this point is related to solar and wind power projects. Due to their high cost and performance deficiencies, these alternative energy are placed at a disadvantage compared to traditional ones. Even with large governmental support, the power generated by wind solar, for example, in the United States, remains marginal. However, for Vietnam, is considered one of the most blooming markets of renewable energy, especially solar and wind power in the Southeast Asia region in recent years. As you know from reading articles in the news, by the end of 2020 last year, the total renewable energy output accounted for around 25% of the total output of the Vietnam's power system. And this is a significant development of wind and solar energy projects in Vietnam. However, if we think that green techs employed in wind and solar energy in Vietnam are successful, but there's still a lot of challenges. And a significant issue is relating to the feed-in tariff, which encouraged investment in renewable energy by guaranteeing an above market price for producers. But however, the thing here is the timeline to enjoy FIT is very tight. And given the disruption caused by COVID-19 pandemic and the scarcity of equipment necessary to operate wind and solar energy projects, many enterprises are worrying that they can't meet the deadline to enjoy the incentives presented by the Vietnamese government. Another reason is incomplete transmission lines. Another challenge to green tech is it requires a huge upfront investment. All of these green tech are highly capital intensive. And in addition to that, commitment to an energy future dominated by these technologies also demands a wide range of complex and capital intensive supporting investment. And sometimes when we talk about this issue, we understand that this complex and large upfront investment sometimes makes these technologies fundamentally unsuitable for supporting rapid economic development, which is a much higher priority than sustainability for about 80% of global citizens. It's also very hard to do alone. So let's take electric cars as an example. Zero emission vehicles account for only less than 1% of the world's total new car production. And there are literally billions of potential customers, but the real challenge is for Tesla is to persuade the customers to abandon gasoline-powered vehicles for electric cars. But by utilizing its ideas, Tesla competitors would improve their product and marketing so that all electric car manufacturers could sell more vehicles and establish new markets. There's also come opportunities for green techs. First up, it is irreversible trend. And it also involves increasingly sophisticated customers. Now, consumers give a high priority to greenness of a product. For example, if we take a global survey carried out by management consultancy firm Accenture in 2020, it says that consumers have dramatically evolved and that 60% were reporting making more environmentally friendly, sustainable, or ethical purchase since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is a great opportunity for green tech. And the third opportunities we see is the government increasing support for green tech. For example, in Vietnam, we have an ambitious program called Vietnam National Green Growth Strategy, adopted in 2012. And the primary objective of the initiative was to lower the nation's greenhouse gas emissions, national energy consumption, and rejuvenate green economy sector. In addition to that, Vietnamese government also introduced tax incentives to support, for example, the CIT. The tax rate is actually 10% applied to companies with new investment projects in producing green energy. Within 15-year period, the government also issues incentives on tax use on land. So for example, land of investment projects in producing green energy is subject to tax exemption. And then also VAT, transfer of encouraged technology and transfer of intellectual property rights and non-taxable objects. Now, we will explore how intellectual property incentivizes green tech. So first of all, since green tech requires a huge upfront investment, the subject matters of intellectual properties, like patent and plant varieties, for example, can help the owners to have monopoly in a certain period of time to recoup their investment to ensure that they have the freedom to operate, which is very important to company, given that they have invested heavily in developing green tech. And as you also know, IPRs like patents and plant varieties, for example, once granted, they can be a very valuable intangible assets and can facilitate capitalization and enables IPR commercialization much more easily. For example, companies with patents can grant licenses to use green tech for third party to use their green tech and then collect royalties. They can also use intellectual property rights in cooperation agreement and also project or even set up a joint venture or a company and put in their intellectual property rights in there to exploit the technologies. And one good news is the number of green tech inventions filed in Vietnam has been significantly increasing since the middle of 2000s. In 2008, there were only 418 applications, but this number was doubled in 2018, 10 years later, with around 886 applications in green tech. And out of the global patent applications, Japan had around 23%, the US 15%, Vietnam, very happy to see the name of Vietnam there, accounts for 13%, Germany 8.7%, and South Korea 5.3% of the applications filed during the period that I just mentioned. And according to filing statistics, there are three key areas that patent applicants are filed for their green tech related technologies. The number one is agriculture and forestry. Not surprising because Vietnam is initially an agriculture country. And the names in there, the top applicants are Syngenta, Bayer Crop Science, Dow Agroscience, etc. The second industry that also receives a high numbers of patent application is alternative energy production. Also not surprising. And the names in there are Dow Agro Science, Ajinomoto. There's also a Vietnamese applicant in there, which is the Institute of Biotech. And the third in the top 3 sector is waste management. And the top applicants in there are Unilever, Toshiba, Kobelco, Eco Solutions, etc. In addition to patent and plant varieties, confidential information or trade secrets is also another powerful tool. They ensure that R&D results are not disclosed before filing patent applications or while implemented. And so in contrast to patents, when you file a patent application, you will need to disclose certain information in exchange of the monopoly rights that granted. But for trade secrets, you would employ measures and steps to keep information which is very valuable to your company in confidentiality, to keep it secret, but not disclose to anyone else or to any third party. And before you want to disclose these confidential information, then you really need to think about the why you need to disclose, and an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, for example, should be signed before disclosing these information to third party. Another subject matters of IP rights, design and copyrights are also attract consumers to trying and using green products. For example, when working with designers to design the outer appearance of a product or design and packaging, and if your companies employ green tech and has patents, for example, then these product designs also need to connect with those concepts that the company trying to deliver and trying to market the products to the consumers. And of course, monopoly over the designs and the copyright may be utilized to make and gain market. While green products have not managed to prove functionality. This is very important to support companies that have green tech and focus on green tech to develop, goods or services. And last but not least, we talk about trademark and trade name. And we look at 2 examples here. So for trademark and trade name, companies may benefit from being recognized as a green-driven one, and trademarks especially help capture and commercialize public recognition. And for trademarks, certified trademarks may play a great role. So for certified trademarks, what they do is they certify that a product or service has certain quality or is produced in a particular location or by a particular process. So if you take a look at the logo here in blue from the Marine Stewardship Council, MSC, headquartered in London, UK, they operate an eco-label and fishery certification program. So what they do is they improve the health of world's oceans and is working with its partners to put the seafood market onto a sustainable footing. So only companies that meet the standards set out by MSC is entitled to use the logo for their products. Another example here is the green logo, the Rainforest Alliance, which is an NGO. So the green fog certification seal that you see here indicates that a farm or forest or a tourist enterprise meets certain environmental, social, and economic standards. So these are the examples to illustrate how intellectual property rights can be used to incentivize green tech. And so I think that concludes my presentation here with the remark that all subject matters of IPRs can be used to support green tech throughout its development and commercialization. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yes, Ian, thank you very much for this interesting presentation. We received one question, but it is in Vietnamese, and my Vietnamese is extremely bad. I don't know. Do you see the chat?
Okay, just wait a second.
Surely.
Right. Okay, maybe. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to navigate different screens. Okay. Okay, so the question is relating to public institutions, I understand, and universities, and they create technologies. However, they do not usually register for intellectual property rights, and what difficulties they will face when transferring these technologies to enterprises. This is a very good question. So intellectual property rights, there are two main categories. One category is that you would need to register to enjoy protection. For example, patents, plant varieties, design, trademarks. And the other categories, they don't need to register to enjoy protection. For example, copyright, because copyright is automatically protected. Secrets is also another example. All you need is to employ measures and steps to keep the information in secret. And whenever you need to prove, you would need to show that the information resulted from R&D activities and have significant value to the business. And so this I think relates to the IP subjects that need registrations in order to enjoy protections. And so of course, if they don't register, then they will not enjoy any rights. And there is deadline to register, you know, those patents and designs. For example, if you have a technology and you don't register it as patent, and you just employ it in, you know, adopt the technologies in the products and sell it in the market, you know, the grace period is 12 months since the date of launching the product. And beyond the 12-month grace period, the owner of the technology will not be able to claim protection for the patent because he's already lose the novelty, which is required for patent protection. And so I think my suggestion is for public institutions and universities, they should have their own plans and also their own policies to protect, you know, those technologies and even, you know, ideas, and working alongside with R&D and labs to capture all of these intangible assets and intellectual property rights once they are created. And then, you know, ask for professional advice to protect those valuable assets as soon as possible.
All right, thank you for that detailed question. I also have a question, and what you mentioned before. So to develop, but also to register IPRs, it's a expensive adventure. Yeah, it's very capital intensive. So as mentioned before, I'm representing the GBA. Yeah, over 300 members, mostly German, but mostly SMEs as well. And we also know most of the Vietnamese companies here, they're small companies. So obviously there's capital for such huge investments very often is not available because we live on our daily operations. So the question would be, are there any programs from government side or institutions where SMEs could get help, maybe also help on a informational level, but maybe also financial support to push such developments, IPRs?
Yeah. Thanks very much, Alex, for a very good question. So the answer is yes, for Vietnamese government, we do. And you can look it up in the website of the Intellectual Property Office, the IP Vietnam. They have a program to support SMEs. So they provide quite detailed information guiding how to do research. Because for SMEs, they're still in sometimes early stage of development, for example, startups, or after some time, but they're still small companies. Then they usually don't have resources, to seek professional advice outside. And a lot of times their internal staff need to do their own research. For example, to search through the patent database or the design database or trademark database published online by IP Vietnam, and also the WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization. They also have their online database. So, you can put the search terms in there, and then it will help you to see, for example, for patents in a particular field of technology, are there any patents in there, or are there any inventions already in there, and how to avoid, step up on others' party toes, or infringing their IP rights, for some instance. And so all of these research they need to do by themselves. And I think there are a lot of trainings by the IP Vietnam to help the SMEs. In terms of financial support, unlike China, China has a great subsidiary program where they grant companies, with certain fees so that they can protect their own intellectual property rights. But for Vietnam, I haven't heard about that program yet. But who knows? Maybe in the future, there will be some sort of small grants, for example, to help SMEs. But during the COVID time, I know that the IP Vietnam has reduced the official fee for registering IP rights. So they reduce half of their official fees to register rights, for example, patents or trademarks or designs.
All right, thank you for that. I think it's good to know, good to hear that the Vietnamese government has, first of all, informational support, but also that they consider on a financial support basis. I think that's very important. So at the moment, I don't see any more questions in the chat. So then I would like to thank you once again, actually all three speakers today, for very interesting presentations that we had. We covered many topics, very different angles and industries. Thank you very much. I hope all the participants had a good sharing or a good learning experience today. I would also kindly remind you that you have the chance to join also tomorrow to the main conference, which is starting at, at 10:30 Vietnamese time, or very early in the morning for Europeans. You will have more keynote speeches. You will also have the summary of the workshops which were happened today, and also roundtable discussions. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to join the session tomorrow. You can stream it also virtually as well. Yes, once again, thank you to the speakers. Thanks to all participants. And I hope we take away many good things and keep working together on that and pushing sustainability and sustainable manufacturing further forward here in Vietnam. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well. Have a nice
Thank
day.
you. Thank you,
Pleasure.
Alex. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.